Greetings from Portland, Oregon. This is Natasha, and this is Plant Centered Living. And today I am with Heman and Marlena of Earthly Gourmet, and it is a gluten-free and vegan distribution company here in Portland, Oregon. And I have asked them to share with us a little bit about their own personal journey to becoming vegan, and also what that's meant for their business, and how that has driven the success of the business and how it's grown. So take it away.
Okay. So I, as I mentioned, in starting this business, how that all evolved was I was involved in, various levels of the supply chain, but again, they were dealing with national brands and typically highly processed foods, certainly not vegan. And it was a series of events that occurred while doing business that I realized that that's not the direction I want to go in. For example, exporting highly processed foods to very poor countries, and the discussions in those meetings tend to be how much margins one can make in very poor countries because they don't really have much of a choice. And that was something that disgusted me very much, and I realized this is not what I want to be doing. And and also I noticed that there was in some areas there was a demand for healthier organic food products, and I was someone that ate. My diet had changed, and I was eating predominantly a vegetarian diet, and rather, I thought healthy. I figured this would be ideal for me because, typically speaking, organic tends to be on, a healthier, better, more sustainable option. So I started to research the organic food business more in depth, and at that point I realized it was almost actually immediately that I realized, yeah, this is what I want to be doing.
What a good feeling.
Yeah. I knew that I wanted to be involved in the food business, even prior to that, because I know that it touches everyone.
Sure.
As I mentioned earlier, that my background is in finance, but that doesn't necessarily touch everyone directly. But with food, the farmer itself can actually can be the common ground between very high-end restaurants to fast food joints. So, but I was not necessarily going to be a farmer because I don't have that level of expertise
Sure.
and knowledge. But I did have the background and experience in food distribution. So therefore, I capitalized on that in that, I took my knowledge in that and started focusing on the organic food brands that I wanted to represent. And at the time, I was living in Miami, Florida, where I met my beautiful wife, Marlena. Florida at the time, or just the East Coast in general, I felt was not as receptive to this lifestyle. And I'd always wanted to move out to the West Coast, and I evaluated various cities, Portland being one of them, and Portland was a pretty easy choice because it was not as expensive as San Francisco or not as big as Seattle, and it wasn't as small as a really tiny town. So it was almost like the perfect size.
Sure.
And I feel I look back now, the timing was Probably close. Yeah, it was perfect.
It's perfect.
In terms of population growth.
Yeah.
And this was what, maybe about 10 years ago or so?
Yeah,
11 years ago.
yeah,
like
11
2006 going into 2007.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, it was
very end
perfect
of
timing.
2006. And so not too long after moving here, I had ran into this protest of it was like a fur protest, and I had asked the sort of the person that was cheerleading it, what is wrong with dairy, and because I used to have a lot of milk, cereal in particular. That was the main thing. I wasn't one for eggs or cheese or anything like that. I mean, I have it, but it wasn't something that I really enjoyed. Like a lot of people that become vegan tends to miss those things. But it was milk in particular that I consumed a lot of, and I asked. I said, "What's wrong with organic milk?" So he explained to me and gave me this pamphlet, and I went home and did the research, and it was immediate. After I was like, "Oh, not worth it." So I just basically quit right away and became vegan, and that was a very significant moment of my life. It one thing I found, from a personal standpoint, you're forced to be a little bit more creative in the kitchen, and I wasn't really. I knew the very basics of cooking certainly prior to that, but it was again the very basics, and was not very experimental. But becoming vegan, you do tend to, at least I did, tend to experiment more, more than I did in the past, and that allowed me to sort of open up and learn about different food products that said, well, wow, I enjoy this. This is fantastic. We should carry this. So as we, for today, like we would get samples or whatever, and it's something that it's something. Well, what do we do with it? We actually enjoy, experimenting with it and seeing, is this something that we want to carry? Is this something that we'll be proud of carrying? That we can really, push wholeheartedly.
So that's great that really came from your own personal choice,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that you're both very passionate about this
Oh,
work,
yes.
about the food, and the products that you carry. That is what I've been very impressed with. So I just had the opportunity to tour the warehouse, and you were telling me all the stories behind the food and the level of ingredient integrity and the passion, really, from both of you that's driven this business to be successful as it is, 11 years later, and continuing to grow. And one thing that I really want to point out that I really appreciated what you said was that you're giving advice to customers, because you really are the experts in the gluten-free vegan realm when it comes to supplying those foods. And they really look to you as the expert. And it's really nice to have that face-to-face interaction and have someone to answer their questions. And so I want those who are watching this video to understand that, right now in front of me, these two folks are very committed to not only the vegan lifestyle, but also helping businesses out there to be able to promote that lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's as I was mentioning, one of the more gratifying things about this business when you get certainly it's really a pleasure working with vegan, vegetarian establishments, but places that are meat centric, when they come to you for advice. Number one, from hearing about us, from other businesses, other local independent businesses, and then whatever advice you give them, whether it be for a new dish or how to use something as basic as tofu, or different ways of using a particular product that we have here. Then them coming back because it worked out so well and asking, hey, what else could we do? That for us is it's like mission accomplished, because
Or they've changed their business from 50% meat and vegan vegetarian to 95% now vegan vegetarian, because they realize how important it is, not just for people who are omnivores, but for your health. There are people who that eat meat that have realized I have to change the way my lifestyle is. I have to cut out my meat, not to every day, to maybe once a week, and then they realize, well, you know, I can't even eat this anymore because it just doesn't digest properly anymore. I had somebody say that. We had a restaurant come in the other day and said, you know, we're going more vegan, vegetarian because it's what's selling here. It's what everybody wants. And that to us is so fulfilling, so rewarding when we see somebody that has their restaurant has changed from 50% or 20% vegan, vegetarian to like 80, 95% vegan, vegetarian. We're like, okay, we made a difference. And that to us is just the ultimate reward.
Well, and it's very rewarding for me to have had this conversation with you, and I sincerely appreciate your time, because it's great being able to spread the vegan message to other people and just show what, you know, having a business with integrity and a business where you're passionate can make a difference, not only to yourself on a self-fulfilling basis, but also the businesses. You're impacting lives of the people who work here and also the businesses that you distribute to. So anything else that you'd like to say?
We actually, you know, this is, it's more than a business for us. It really is a lifestyle.
So it's a way of living.
And it is a lot of hard work. But as I was telling Marlena the other day, that you know, certainly there are other opportunities out there. However, will I be happy at the end of the day? Other than, you know, if I were doing this, and I can say that I really will. This is definitely extremely satisfying and gratifying, and you know, we're gonna, you know, keep at it. It's tough. It's
a lot of hard work.
Everyone, you know, everyone on board, but it's basically, you know, we're on a mission, and to basically spread not just, you know, vegan foods and gluten-free foods for the heck of it, but the best available product in its category, and that's very important to us, so that everyone can enjoy it.
Well, Heman and Marlena, thank you for being on the front line of that vegan mission, and I sincerely appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Thank you.